morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at the most expensive cards from 2024. This is all the cards that were released in the year 2024. We're not having any more sets being released this year, so we can have a look. TCG player have been talking about this. We always do a yearly list. This seems like a very good time to do it. One quick side note here, and this is really based on partly how annoying it is to do, and partly based on feedback from you guys last year. We are going to be sticking to cards which were released in expansions this year, i.e. not staff cards. Because if you want to start expanding it, we can go a lot bigger than some of the cards we're going to go in this list. For instance, the Worlds promo this year. Paradise Resort, specifically the staff version of Paradise Resort, is worth like a fair bit more than any card you're going to see on this list. It's a phenomenal card. But it was only given out to staff at the World Championship, so it's not necessarily a particularly fair one to put on this list, because now last year I did include stuff like this on the list, and rightly so. A bunch of you said, Wossy, come on, mate. These cards are just completely inaccessible for the vast majority of people, so maybe don't pop them on the list. Fair point. If we want to go really silly here, the 151 Voltorb. Now remember, this was a specific version of the Voltorb. There are actually two given out over the year. Professor Program, one was only given out at NAIC, and it was spectacularly expensive, ridiculously expensive. So yeah, that one was they're both ridiculously expensive, but one even more so than the other. So basically what we're talking about here is a card which, you know, these would be on the list, especially the 151 Voltorb, but right now we need to just take a step back and go, well, you know what, they're not really accessible to most people. You know, one of them was only given away to a handful of people who were staff at NAIC, not even all the staff. So yeah, let's stick to cards that were in sets that were released in the year 2024. And in terms of sets that were released in the year 2024, what we've got here is we started off at the beginning of the year with Paldean Fates. We then had our four main sets of the year, that being Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, Stellar Crown, and Surging Sparks. And then we also had the mini set Shrouded Fable, which released in August just in time for the World Championships. Obviously, Prismatic Evolutions is coming out in January, which means it hasn't happened yet. Next year's list, very good chance we've got some cards from Prismatic Evolutions finding their way onto this list. That will be fun. But how about we talk about that in pretty much exactly a year's time? For now, let's focus on sets that were released in the year 2024, the sets I've just shown you, and let's start off at number 10 with the Alolan Executor that came around very recently in Surging Sparks. Although I need to give you my usual note here. Surging Sparks is a very new set, a very hyped set. The cards from Surging Sparks are a little bit inflated to what we would generally expect here. Please bear that in mind. These cards are going to be a little bit higher than we would generally expect, partly because it's a new set, and partly because it is a particularly hyped set that is quite important. Right now, according to TCG Player, we were talking about $105 here. I'm looking at TCG Player, I'm looking at places like eBay as well, of course, to make sure there aren't any that are, let's say, just out there. And yeah, about $105 is right now. It's a cool card. It's not hugely playable. I love Swinging Sphene. Flip a coin if heads KO your opponent's active basic. Only a basic. If tails knock out a bench basic. I love the art. And remember, it does actually match up artwork-wise with the Execute. Doesn't physically match up, but same artist, same kind of style, same kind of scene. You see where I'm going with this. Really cool card. Deserving of being on the list, but very much in at number 10, and I don't think anyone's going to argue. In at number 9, for my money, a much more exciting card, we've got Raging Bolt. the special illustration rare from Temporal Forces. And this is my kind of card. There are basically... Actually, half of this list are cards I particularly like. This is one of them. I absolutely adore it. Current market price of pretty much dead on $110 according to TCG Player. Again, that basically matches what we see on eBay, etc. So call it 110. This card, I mean, firstly, it's incredibly playable. It's an extremely playable card, one that a lot of people absolutely adore playing, as they should. It can do basically infinite damage. And it's also got that wonderful T0 artwork. Remember, T0 did all of the special illustration rare ancient Pokemon from the set, and it's just phenomenal. Like, there's a lot of cards I absolutely adore. Come on, you know me by now. There's a lot of Pokemon cards I adore. But even in a year of phenomenal artwork in terms of cards, this is one of the very, very, very best of the year. In at number 8, another one, which I would count as among the very, very best of the year. We've got the special illustration rare Hydreigon from Surging Sparks, which I'm going to put at around about $115. It's just a tiny bit higher than Raging Bolt, and we are going to do to the nearest $5 to keep it a little bit easier. About $115 is about right for this. And this has Akira Igawa artwork. And I adore Akira Igawa. This is not the only card that they've got on the list. We'll see another one in a moment. And this is actually a playable card that is seeing a bunch of hype right now. People are very much liking this Hydreigon. It's seen a bunch of playing success in Japan. I'm hearing a bunch of hype coming around for it over in the West as well. So, yeah. You combine the playability with the artwork, and that's where we are. Pulled one of these on my Whatnot stream the other day and had to send it to somebody that wasn't me, which was a little bit sad, especially after the monstrous live stream I did for the Guinness World Records attempt, where Joe and I opened 8 booster boxes and 10 Elite Trainer boxes and didn't pull one of these. It's a card I might have to pick up at some point. It is beyond amazing, but the point is, comes in at number 8 at about $115. You'll notice it's another card from Surging Sparks. Remember, I've told you they might be a little bit inflated. Hey, speaking of which, in at number 7... Milotic EX from Surging Sparks, which might be a little bit inflated. Right now, if we have a look at Milotic EX, we're looking at, let's call it around $145. About 145 seems about right now. And what we see here is a card that actually is decently playable. It blocks Terra Pokemon, which means that he's playing some blocking decks right now. Seen a bunch of them coming out of Japan. It matches with the Feebas, and people have started arguing with me less about this, which is awesome. Same artist, same style. Thematically, having the Feebas below the waterline and the Milotic shooting out the water is amazing, but the cards don't actually physically match up. This is important to me. But we got phenomenal artwork here. We got matching cards, which people absolutely love, and it's decently playable. This makes sense. In at number 6, we've got Gold Pikachu, which I'm putting in at around about $140, let's call it $150. Let's call it about $150 in at number 5. And this is an awkward one for me. Now, according to the list TCG Player put out, it's number 5. I don't think it's at number 5. I don't think this Pikachu is at number 5. I've got this Pikachu in at number 6. The market price on TCG Player right now is actually showing at just under 120 as I record, but I don't think that's right either. The average of eBay solds at the moment is about 150. There is a lot of data around at the moment, so I'm calling this one 150, but I just need you guys to know that of all the cards on this list, this is the one that is causing me the most issues in terms of where to put it, because I think you honestly could have put it below Milotic, but you also could have put it in at number 5 based on some sales, which I do think after the past couple of days, I don't think putting it at number 5 is fair. So I'm putting it in at number 6, but this one is fluctuating quite wildly. And yes, it is another Surging Sparks card. 6 of the 10 cards on this list are from Surging Sparks. Partly is because it's a newer set. Partly it's because we got a couple of real high-level cards on this list, which are hyping up the set as a whole, which is then dragging up a lot of the cards on this list. But it's Pikachu EX, it's gold, it's playable, and it's not the rare. Well, actually, it is the rarest version of the Pikachu. It's got the lowest pull rate, but it's not the best version, it's not the most wanted version. So I think in at number 6 makes a lot of sense. In at number 5, not the only card from Paldean Fates, we've got Charizard EX by Akira Igawa. And I absolutely adore this. I actually don't have this card, but I do have a poster of the artwork signed by Akira Igawa that I picked up at the World Championships, which I'm just going to put out there is probably cooler and definitely more exclusive. So I'm just saying, I'm happy about this. When I move into my new studio soon, I'm going to have it framed on the wall, and it's going to make me very, very happy. This is the good, playable Charizard. And interestingly enough, even though the one from Obsidian Flames, which was also done by Akira Igawa, which, just to be clear, it didn't release this year, it's not eligible for this list, even if it did release this year, wouldn't be close. It's like halfway to this list at best. For some reason, the Paldean Fates print is the one that people absolutely love, and to be fair, I do think the artwork is better. It's the playable Charizard that's seen a huge amount of play and success, really since the moment it was released. You smash all of this together, and you end up with just a phenomenal card. And at the end of the day, at the risk of sounding a little bit obvious, it is a Charizard. Oh, I haven't actually told you what we're looking at here. This one we're looking at around about $165. That's about what we're looking at right now. It's about a $165 card. In at number 4, we've got my personal favourite card on the list, and this is the Latias EX that came around in Surging Sparks. Shocker. Seriously, the fact that this list is dominated by Surging Sparks is a very relevant thing we need to bear in mind. Currently sitting at about $235. That seems about a fair price for this one. Is creeping up, frankly. Although it has dropped quite significantly in the past couple of weeks, so creeping up from the drop. But still, very relevant card. And the thing about Latias is it's got everything. Firstly, Okacheke artwork, my favourite artist in the game. Secondly, proper connecting art with the Latios. Not fake connecting art, ladies and gentlemen. Proper connecting art. And it's also like the best card in Surging Sparks. Like, I think this is hands down the best card in Surging Sparks. It gives free retreat to all of your basic Pokemon in play. Sees a huge amount of play right now. Will continue to see a whole bunch of play moving forward. It is just a ridiculous card. It is a card I cannot say enough nice things about. Plus, it's uber playable. I did pull this, luckily, on the Guinness World Records attempt live stream, which is good, because I pulled 2, actually. 1 for me, 1 for Joe. And then I got to, earn friend points by giving 1 to Joe. But mostly, it means I don't have to go and buy one of these myself, because I love the card that gosh darned much. Adore this card. Absolutely adore it. In at number 3, another card I adore. It's the Mew EX from Paldean Fates. And this one is coming in, let's call it around, $265. Let's call it $265 as it is at the moment. And what we've got here is, firstly, another redonkulously playable card. It's got that ability that lets you draw till you got 3 cards in your hand. It's a basic Pokemon. It's got free retreat. Oh, yeah. And it can copy the attacks of one of your opponent's Pokemon. So there's basically just like a huge amount of stuff going on here, which put this Mew as a particularly amazing card. Plus, it is from Paldean Fates, which is a set where not everyone's convinced by the pull rate, so it seems like a pretty hard card to pull. It's got phenomenal artwork by Uzgman, who, this was their first card, but they have since done a bunch of others, which are pretty cool. And yeah, it's the artwork, it's the playability, it's the pull rate. You add it all up, this makes perfect sense. What doesn't make perfect sense is the number 2 card. It is the Greninja EX that came around in Twilight Masquerade. It's currently sitting at about a $330 card, and I'm not buying it, literally or figuratively. Every other card on this list I can look at and go, yeah, alright. Like, the Alolan Executor is a little bit high, frankly, and honestly, I wouldn't expect it to be. Like, if we took the same list with the same eligibility in 6 months' time, as in cards released in the year 2024, I don't think Alone and Executor is still going to be on here. I think it's getting a Surging Sparks bump. But it's at the bottom of the list. It's got the connecting art, or related art, whatever you want to call it. And that kind of makes sense. I get it. This one makes no sense. And I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about this. This one makes no sense. Because there's nothing about this Greninja that puts it at this high of a card, or at least should. The artwork by Akagi is great. But is anyone really going to argue it is that much better than things like the Hydreigon, the Charizard, the Raging Bolt? No! And it's a playable card that's seen a bunch of play and success, but not compared to a lot of the cards on this list, and other cards. It shouldn't be this high. But there is, and Greninja's popular, but more popular than Charizard? Obviously not. No, this is one of those cards where essentially what happened was, people were looking for a hit, and we made a hit. And a lot of people, enough people, started buying and selling this for high enough prices, it gained a bit of momentum and kept going. There's nothing about this card that should have put it this high on the list. The art, the Pokemon, the playability, the pull rate, all of this, they shouldn't have put it this high on the list. This should not be higher than cards like Mew and Latias and Charizard. It just shouldn't. But it is. And when you see cards like this, essentially what happens is a few people buy and sell for more than it should be. It gains a bunch of momentum, and then this becomes the actual price. Make no mistake about it, this is a $330 card. It is number 2 on this list, but it really shouldn't be. In at number 1, however, Pikachu EX from Surging Sparks. Currently sitting at about a $470 card, and frankly, we could have seen this coming. Like, we blatantly could have seen this coming from a mile off. It's a special illustration rare Pikachu. It was always going to be number 1 on this list. Didn't even really matter what else released this year. This was always going to be number 1. Simple as that. It's from Surging Sparks, but the thing is, like, the other cards from Surging Sparks on this list are inflated because of Pikachu. The set as a whole is more sought after, and more people are trying to get it because of Pikachu, which is kind of awesome, or weird, or bad, depending how you look at it. Everything about this is cool. We like this card. It's playable. Ghidorah's done artwork, and the artwork is amazing. It's not my favorite card on the list on a personal level. Told you that was Latias. But I'm telling you right now, this card is going to be a monster for years to come. Yes, it launched way too high and had to come down from the ridiculous early prices, but make no mistake about it, when we're looking back in several years' time at the Scarlet and Violet era as a whole, this is going to be maybe the iconic card of the Scarlet and Violet era, if not one of a very small number. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what your favourite cards in 2024 were. Tell me how many of these cards you've actually gone and pulled from packs. For me, I'm sad to say, 1. Literally just the Latias. Now, I did pull it twice. Yeah, oh no, well, I pulled the Hydreigon, but I pulled it on a Whatnot stream, so it wasn't actually for me, it was for somebody else. I'll let you decide that one. But for me, I pulled the Latias, actually pulled 2 of them, but then again, I was doing a live stream where I opened 5 booster boxes and 10 Elite Trainer boxes that Pokemon gave me to open, so even that one, there is a massive asterisk next to it as to whether I actually opened it myself or not. For now, I want to know what you think about this and which ones you pulled, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Andrew Kincaid, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.